AKAPADers, welcome back to the channel. We're going to get right past this intro onto the drawing table, because what we have something of absolute significance, maybe the most significant item of all of 90s comics. It's Jim Lee, WildCATs 10, 11, 12, and 13. This is the end of Jim Lee. Jim Lee leaves monthly comic books. He only returns to monthly comics to better embed himself into DC Comics, DC editorial, to pretty much put some skin back into the game once DC acquires Wildstorm Productions. Post WildCats issue 13, Jim Lee really does not return back to a monthly book. Now, he tries a little bit with Heroes Reborn. He does 6 issues there. He comes back and he tries again with Heroes Reborn, Fantastic Four, but he comes back with Divine Right again. It doesn't quite hit, but then it's Batman Hush, and through that, he really creates the path for him becoming a true comic book executive, and now he's becoming a Warner Brothers executive. This was somewhat his long play. Now, I think in Jim Lee's eyes, I'm not even exaggerating. He's about 20 years behind schedule. He was positioning Wildstorm Productions from the very inception to be purchased by Marvel Comic Books, and they would purchase the rights of the characters and his entire production house. But here's what happens. He burns out, he leaves the book, and the entire Wildstorm universe loses momentum. And in a very weird way, the books themselves don't promote their own properties. During this time, he's exposing Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont's Huntsman character is an absolute waste, which is one of the reasons why we're getting this video on a non-Wednesday. And then, through the publication of Wildstorm and WildCats, we get these backup stories. And these backup stories are supposed to add context and deep details and ramp up these characters that we're supposed to potentially love. But we never really do. And it's bad real estate, it's bad business, because he doesn't use any of this space to promote the WildCats toy line, animated series, SNES video game. He does nothing to pump the stock of his property hitting CBS Saturday morning television to go head to head with Marvel's X-Men. It's astonishing. A lot of people will say Jim Lee's bad decisions came way after, couple years after, but they start here. So these books are depressing, but they're also well drawn, they're coherent. We get to see a perfect studio system working in a singular style, maybe the greatest in comic book history. These 4 issues, it's hard to know exactly who's drawing what and where some of the background artwork comes in, where some of it doesn't. But he probably has 3 to 4 other artists on every single page throughout these 4 books. But we know he's burning out because he returns and never comes back. And then WildCats basically gets derailed with Image X month and doesn't really recover until Alan Moore comes on board, where Alan Moore completely guts and dissects and destroys the book, and they really have a rough couple years going into issue 50. This brings into question everything we have for Wildstorm Wednesday and what the strategy is moving forward. And another reason why I took a little bit more care with this episode. So guys, we're going to jump right to that drawing table. Wildstorm Wednesday. Subscribe, support, leave a comment. We're at the end of an era. Jim Lee never quite returns to monthly comics. Never really does. Cheers and good morning, AKAPADers. We're recording this. The Philadelphia sun is coming through the skyline. Welcome back to Wildstorm Wednesday. We're doing very little. This video is not going to have an intro because this is the end of WildCats. When Jim Lee collaborates with Chris Claremont, Jim Lee is never to return to WildCATs in a significant capacity ever again. From this point on, Jim Lee's going to do covers. He's going to do a couple. He does like an issue 1 for WildCATs Volume 5 with Grant Morrison. You know, some design work, and along the way, he's just vacated from the title. Before we get into issue 10, let's do a little bit of a catch-up. WildCATs 1 through 4. This is our mini-series. This is our launch title. This is where we're introduced to the idea of the orb. Everyone's hunting this orb here that Gnome here has. The orb is synced, infected into Void. There's another character that's also infected. They're kind of symbiotic. We get Jacob Marlowe. Hellspawn here, he disappears at the end of this. But then at the end, we kind of get a little bit of our gang here. We get guys like Attica, Slag, Harm, HARM, that is a acronym. Gnome, he basically gets betrayed by Jacob Marlowe, falls into a pit, so he's off the team. And our little Coda girl over here, she kind of runs off to her own adventure. So we have like this new trio here. They're going to come back in issue 10. Issues 5, 6, and 7, as previously profiled on this channel, we have the Killer Instinct crossover. We're crossing over with Cyberforce. Issue 5 here. It doesn't have the Killer Instinct logo, but this acts as a prequel. Not a prequel, a prologue to the story. And we get fantastic illustrations like this. Now, keep in mind, the production value for this is probably about $20,000. That's what the file is worth back in the early 90s. So $20,000 spread there. So we got Killer Instinct. And then we move into a little bit of a WildCATs adventure. We got Entropy here. He's linked to Jacob Marlowe, and they go back in time. Jacob Marlowe is a knight. Now they don't excuse why he's a midget or what's happening with his legs. But we get a little bit of a backstory, and then our vacation issue, WildCATs issue 8, Grifter shoots off on his own. He kisses Zalot, speeds off on his own. He gets a call. That becomes this adventure, Kindred 1 through 4. Here's 3. Here's 4. Where's issue 2? We don't know where issue 2 is, but Kindred breaks Grifter away from WildCATs for a few issues. And it starts to set up the Backlash monthly series. We are yet to do Backlash here. And also during this point, at the end of WildCATs 9, Jacob Marlowe, he basically leaves the team. So we have no Grifter and no Lord Emp going into our next sequence of issues here, which would be the Huntsman. Now, along the way, I do want to make this observation. We're kind of marching towards the WildCATs cartoon right here. And it's really weird because we don't get a lot of attention from within the books. Coming up, we're going to get a little bit of a 5-page making of insert that we only wish had more artwork from Jim Lee, which it doesn't. But all of the backs, the extra pages, you will, of WildCATs during this time, they all have these supplemental short stories. And they act like as a little bit of a breeding ground for guys like Travis Sherris and Alex Garner. But they take away real estate too. I mean, I don't know why we're not getting more advertising for the cartoon, the toy line, interviews about the toy line, and the upcoming SNES video game. It really is of the idea that Jim Lee just gives them WildCATs. They do the contract, they do the money exchange, and then Jim Lee's like, you guys are on your own. It's bad business. I would remove any of these backup stories, which are nominal, and I'm thinking about doing a video where we just highlight the backup stories. And you're losing real estate to sell your own product. I don't understand it. So WildCATs 10, 11, 12, and 13. This is Huntsman. We've been advertising this book right here. Chris Claremont, together again for a very special 3-issue story. Well, guess what? It's a 4-issue story. 10, 11, 12. Introducing Chris Claremont's Huntsman. And we have Chris Claremont's company here, Clear Mountain. Now, I've previously had a meltdown on this channel where I realized just how inept Chris Claremont is just as a creator, writer, idea guy. I firmly believe the strength of these 4 issues, because I did previously say it was cohesive, unlike the Cyber Force issues, which also feature Huntsman. I believe Jim Lee's storytelling power, his ability to do well thought out layouts, have connective tissue throughout the book, connect issue to issue. He knows how to end the book. He knows how to start a book. I think all of these things is Jim Lee. I don't know. I don't see much of Chris Claremont here. I see Chris Claremont by name, quote unquote, and that's it. So let's catch up with some trading cards. We have Grifter. Grifter is off on a adventure with Backlash. We even have a Grifter Backlash trading card. The two of them, they're going to encounter Blood Moon over here on an island. Grifter's going to jump ship. Previously, removing Imp from the team, we have in Trophy here. Then we have our WildCATs. These are the WildCATs ready for adventure. We have Maul, Zealot, Warblade, Voodoo, Void, and Spartan. Coming up, because we can't just have... this is a great setup. Because you explained why we don't have Lord Imp, and you explained very well why we don't have Grifter in these issues, right? This is comic book storytelling when it comes to a month-to-month adventure. Sometimes we want to isolate our characters to highlight them, to let them be able to breathe and do things. We have part of the team here. But here we go. Let's also introduce Soldier. Let's also introduce Savant. Let's also introduce Mr. Majestic, who's had multiple different spellings. They were spelling him with an X at one point. They're going to go up against Tapestry here. This is also Bill Ziekowitz's digital era, and I hate it. I hate this era of Bill Ziekowitz. They're going to go up against Tapestry. Along the way, we're going to get Providence. She's going to show up. And Providence, because they're both powered by the orb I showed you guys earlier, they're going to kind of merge and be controlled by Tapestry. And then along the way, we get Slag and we get Attica. Attica really becomes a character here. We get Slag. Harm shows up. And they're like the hired assassins or like the hired guns by Tapestry to they're trying to get to Z-Lot here. Tapestry has a history with Z-Lot. Now, all of this stuff here, here's the wild thing. None of it involves the Demon Knights. Okay. In issue 13, we get the question. Tapestry, why do you care so much about Z-Lot? You guys been battling for 100 years. And she basically just says she just doesn't like things. She wants it all to be hers, and she wants to take it over, and she wants to dominate everything. That's literally like what she says. So we don't get much Demon Knights, but we get another Demon Knight analog. So let's start there. Let's start there. So issue 10 begins perfectly. And this is what I'm talking about. Maybe a little bit of Chris Claremont. But we got Z-Lot training Voodoo. They're across the river. We have New York City in back of them. They have a bonfire. And Z-Lot is just going off. She's trying to inspire the warrior in Voodoo. And quickly, within a couple panels, Voodoo's just having none of it. That's it, lady. You're done. I'm out of here. You can take your rules, your stupid mysteries, and you can shove. And Z-Lot is just trying to work with Voodoo the way that she worked with Grifter. Z-Lot's a Coda. Grifter, our boy over here, he's the only one that's trained with the Coda. Okay? Not Dakota, Coda. So he has like all the abilities of Z-Lot. The difference is that Z-Lot is just, she really is. She's a great character, but she's just like 10 cuts above everything. And while they're training and bickering a little bit, this ship comes out of nowhere. Here we go, right? Like comic books. We have this giant ship that comes out of a boom tube, because that's what we're referencing here. Jack Kirby, New Gods boom tube, the sky. And then we have Alabaster Woo. If you guys, okay, let me just show you guys Alabaster Woo real quick, because this is where it's going to get confusing. And this guy is like, he opens the adventure, he opens the saga, we'll call it, and then he's just out inconsequential. See, also at this time, Huntsman is showing up in Cyberforce. He's right here. Awesome cover for issue 10. But he's got 3 issues. It's funny how Top Cow gets done their 3 issues with Huntsman. But Jim Lee and Wildstorm cannot. So here he is. He's right here. Alabaster Woo. We still don't know anything about Huntsman. We don't know anything about Alabaster. We don't really know what Huntsman's doing. And if you're curious what Huntsman is doing in this book, he's basically like the shepherd of this like Matrix pod city called Empire City. Cool name. It shows up here at the end, right? See, like here, like somehow he saves all of Cyberforce as they're getting overrun by, not shocks, but these are super shocks. They get overrun, he pods everyone, and then they end up in this place that he calls Empire City. And then the rest of this, just so you guys know, it kind of flows into issue 11 here, where, and he is in issue 11. For a couple seconds, because they get into another fight. He's in here, right? And he whacks one of the shocks at the knees, and he does that later in here too. And that's the last we see of Huntsman. So he's only in like a little bit of issue 11. So you can kind of you can say he's in 3 issues. You can say he's in 4 issues. I guess to tell the story, you have to reprint issue 11 to go along with this. But this now is like part of the evolution of Cyberforce, where it's becoming more of a mind, psychological thriller of the mind sci-fi story. of Philip K. Dick in here. That's what she said. So Alabaster Wu stumbles out. He's shot in the back, and then here we go. We have our here you go. Look, the bright and burning thread. Your days has run out, Alabaster Wu's, as it has for all of those who trusted you. Zealot, is that a demonite? No, it's not. So these are like other creatures, but they also possess. So that's why I call them demonite analogs. Grifter, Zealot just de-arms him, beheads him. And guys, side note, I love everything that Voodoo's wearing in this issue. It's so freaking dead on because it's like sporty, it's athletic, it's modern. Jim Lee is doing a great job with his negative spaces, and this is a style of his storytelling and layout that we don't get much of after. But Zealot and Huntsman, they find each other inside the wreckage of the ship. There's a girl that is kind of sedated, but she's kind of trick sleeping too. The Rickshaws. The Rickshaws are Legion. These are our demon. So instead of having demonites, which would have been awesome, we get Rickshaws, and Zealot and Huntsman do their Jim Lee poses. They go through amazing silhouette here. Huntsman gives Zealot back her sword, and he's very like Errol Flynn. I always get like Errol Flynn vibes. No backstory on Huntsman. He's there to protect the girl. Zealot is injured, so she's slowly going to get infected. See what I mean about the negative space from Jim Lee? And look, see, like these nice subtle poses here. This is the Jim Lee we want. Sweeps the leg. Yeah, and he has things like a warrior never lowers her guard. A warrior trusts another warrior. That's how they talk to one another. It's very like woo-woo warrior speak. But we're all in because it's almost like Zealot's she's meeting her match. And you kind of think they're going to fall in love. Like you think they're going to develop a relationship, but they walk off into more negative space. We get a couple cops that show up later, inconsequential, because we're going to get multiple blonde-haired girls. So now we have our first blonde-haired girl, right? The one that we're rescuing that Huntsman wants, like this babe. Well, we got another one here. I mean, NYPD shows up. They're like, this is nuts. Alabaster Wu's trying to call Lord Emp. He's trying to call Jacob Merlot. He goes, you a-hole. We had a deal. You said you would always pick up this number. And you see he's maybe he's transforming or he's just injured. And then we have Voodoo, who is now possessed, by the way. Voodoo gets possessed by the Rickshaw. The Rickshaw. She gets possessed and she just totally wipes out a couple people. And this is sad too, because look, he's melding him. She must be one of the mutants. Get out of here, Connie. Call the cops. Marty, don't act crazy. Come with me. He's my bud, Connie. I can't just leave him. And it's awesome. Like this is such a tense scene. And it's just like basically friends standing up for one another, encountering the unknown. Amazing jump here. Like, come on, Jim Lee pose. And he does a good job too. When Voodoo's possessed, he really nails her face. Like, we can tell she's possessed. Like, the line work is there. But she calls, because she has now the rickshaw in her has access to her memories. She's able to call the WildCATs. She gets on the phone with the WildCATs and she's like, hey, I'm coming in. And then they're like, hey, well, what happened to Zealot? She's like, look, she was captured. Warblade's like, Zealot captured. Sorry, I don't buy it. So they're like kind of weary of her. But Zealot's like, hey, by the way, I just tried to jump through a moving train to get to Alabaster Wu. he kicked me out of the train, and I ended up near a payphone, and now I'm here. Guys, storytelling, let's go. So Jacob Merlot somehow, see, this is a little bit of the betrayal, because unlike Cyberforce, we have more to follow here. And at the end of issue 9, right? We're at issue 10. At the end of issue 9, we get Jacob Merlot. He basically, how can you be so sure about that, Angel? I mean, Entropy was a Lord Caribrium, just like me. And look at the way he turned out. Am I really that different from him? He has like this existential crisis at the end of 10. I mean, at the end of 9. And he like leaves. He leaves her to run the team. But he just shows up here because Alabaster Wu calls him. And then they're trying to talk shop, but the WildCATs pop in because they can kind of track one another. So they know, Void knows where to teleport everyone. And look at Maul here. Come on. Guys, this is why we love Jim Lee. And we get a silhouette confrontation. Behave yourself, old man. We'll get along fine. Caveman, conduct business in private anymore. You're being set up, sir. This is a trap. Because Voodoo has poisoned the mind. And Voodoo has told the WildCATs that Alabaster Wu is going to ambush Jacob Merlot. Well, guess what? Our boys here show up. Looking fine, by the way. Well, good news, AKA Patters. I just found, because I had to stop. I got a phone call. I just got the harm card. So here's our crew. This is a crew that shows up to blow up the meeting with Alabaster Wu and Lord Imp. Harm, Providence, Attica, and Slag. Visually together, these guys are amazing. You almost want to say, when you see this panel, I'm not talking about the WildCATs panel. I'm talking about the panel of the villains. Because they do work well together. You really want to say, you're Marvel Comics, you're looking at this, and you're saying, this could have been in our next X-Men arc. This could have been part of our legacy characters. But we don't. So anyway, hey, my future is my own assassin. I bow to no one, false providence. Perfect, meat. Your fate is sealed. So we have evil, evil Voodoo coming up next issue. Evil Voodoo. And essentially, Providence here just predicts the fate. Because Providence is like the anti-Void. And the concepts of Providence and Void, they get most explored in this run. And after that, you think these two characters would be more of a linchpin to all the WildCATs adventures, to the bigger arcs, to like almost like the higher meaning of the team and the franchise as a whole. It really doesn't. You know, people, every single writer that comes on after this run here, when we're done with 13, they abandon this concept. And it's such a refreshing concept when it deals with a two characters that are the opposite of one another. Tapestry here, guys. So I long had this issue, and I never, for some reason, I remember reading 10, I remember reading like 13, 12, like 11 and 12 were always, I would always have to look up these covers. For some reason, these two issues, and maybe in my mind, they just blend together, and I kind of play the forget game. But I memory hold these two a lot. Tapestry, if we need a visual reference for Tapestry, it's Lady Death from Chaos Comics. From that point on, there's no other connection. Tapestry is she's another psychic character. She lives in a psychic plane. She kind of like gets souls. She controls bodies. She controls consciousnesses. And previously, she's had an issue with Zealot. And if we go to issue 13, the only one of these backup stories that actually matter is we get this backup story of when Zealot encounters Tapestry here. Like, this is nicely illustrated. I always loved this panel here. Look at that. But yeah, and then Tapestry overcomes Zealot. We can see she projects her younger self. And yeah, she kind of possesses Zealot for 100 years. So Zealot, as soon as she sees Tapestry here, and this cover comes to fruition because we get a full-size Maul hanging upside down. Everyone fights. Spartan does his, Delta. Where does he say? He's like, everyone disperse in Delta pattern. Voodoo led us into a trap. Merlo's down. Defensive maneuver Delta. Everyone from form on Void for immediate dust off. So, it's like stuff like this. And you kind of want to say, in all of these books, AKAPADers, the problem with recording in the morning is that we get a lot of phone calls sometimes. Just got another call. Attica he's doing his work. The team is trying to rally around Void. They're trying to get out of there. But guess what happens? Interrupting Void is our girl. And here we go. This is one of the first times we've seen Void completely neutralized. Providence. I like doing stuff with these trading cards. Providence versus our girl Void right here. So we get something cool coming up with these. If you want some foreshadowing, these two become a throne for Tapestry. They become a throne for Tapestry. Now that's how powerful Tapestry is. Because, you have to go along with it. A lot of times in these books, like 90s comics, there's a lot of, we talk about, there's a lot of hive minds, there's a lot of overly powerful psychics, and there's a lot of MacGuffins that can do whatever they have to do in time of the plot. Zealot and Huntsman, they're speeding along. He's in the bitch seat. And the captions up until this point are the girl. And the girl, so here's the thing. We don't even know where, Huntsman's from. Because they're going through Brooklyn here. They all know what Brooklyn is. But I love this shot, though. Look at that shot. I mean, the light, the lens flare there. The lens flares. These so freaking cool. And then we're back to the fight. Slag just really... So... Jim Lee pumps the stock of the villains in these 4 issues. These guys, we almost want to call them, they're like a fantastic foursome. Or fantastic foursome. Fearsome. Fantastic fearsome. That's it. They're awesome, dude. We get Harm here. We learn that Attica kind of, his body is fused with his technology, and he cannot, he's almost in constant pain. We get these nice character notes, but the fight continues, ensues, and Tapestry shows up, and then the record skips, the music stops, and we learn that Tapestry was paying the fantastic fearsome to essentially get Zealot. She wants to get Zealot, and Zealot's not there. They're still looking for her, but they get paid regardless. And all of WildCATs, they're captured. They're confiscated. We see them being they have a whole crew of people to carry everyone away. And Tapestry, I require Alabaster Wu, healthy Raksha. Raksha. This guy's name is Raksha. Likewise, Lord Imp and his pets. Be patient. We'll find you dinner soon enough. So, like, you know, like they're kind of feeding on souls. They need Alabaster Wu because Wu's connected to the girl. And then we have Providence here, and Providence is attacked by the dog, and Tapestry flings them away. We have the prophecy fulfilled. We have Maul hanging upside down, full size. I don't know why Maul is not regular size, why he just is full size. Like, right, he should revert back to his human form. But Tapestry, like, throws down her power and starts to meld our two girls here, Providence and Void, which is like insanely cool. And we get like panels like this. It's like these are important panels because they're just like new ideas. It's like Tapestry is like a level above Void. Up until this point, Void, she's broken a little, the same way how like Lord Emp's broken a little, but she's like still like all powerful. And Providence is also like kind of like all powerful. But Tapestry's able to wield the two of them. Now, from a storytelling perspective, we kind of want Tapestry. And look, we get these awesome like Jim Lee poses. I love the girl's hair. Like, look how they ink her hair. But up until this point, we want like better exposition for Tapestry, and we don't quite get it. But we get these like ventures into like the psychic realm. And so some of Tapestry's power, we'll say, is in Zealot. Now, Tapestry is going to go back into the mind of Jacob Merlot and see when he was like introduced to Zealot, and then he's just going to basically like freak her out. He's going to freak her out. But then we cut to Savant, another blonde-haired girl. So now we're up to 3 blonde-haired girls, and we have our Chris Claremont analog here. He's a creeper that's trying to bang her, and she kind of gets the call. She runs off, and she can't do anything until she calls this soldier guy that's kind of connected with Grifter and connected with Zealot. So she calls Soldier. She's like, hey, I gotta cash in a favor. And then we have this awesome panel here where she's just like skipping through all these different cities, coming to save the day. And so here's the thing. So we're back during Tapestry's like mind warp here, okay? And we don't know. The coloring here should be closer to this. It should have hints of the blue. The paneling should be a little bit more wavy, just so we know we're still in like this mind lock. But we see that Tapestry is so deep into the mind of Jacob Merlot, she comforts him and confuses him of what his memories are. And this is all what we see in WildCATs issue 1. Right? So if we cut to WildCATs issue 1 real quick. Throwing one of her blades, coming to save the day. And then we cut to the safe house and we get a little bit more exposition of who everyone is, the alien war, so on and so forth. But yeah, Tapestry's full on in and now like a gimped version of Jacob Merlot. And I really, look, they're all in on her cape. They're all in on Tapestry being a presence. You kind of see, even in the dream world, you know, she can fight as good as Zealot. Right? So then we get the cover, and so this is kind of where WildCATs breaks. WildCATs, it doesn't just break when we have Jim Lee exit. It doesn't just break when we have the, we blow off Providence and we blow off Void later in the line. It doesn't break for those reasons. The entire Wildstorm Productions universe is really like, and Savant's not terrible, okay, but it's really like this, okay. And guys, this is a Arc Flex mouse here. If we black out Mr. Majestic, like everything we get from WildCATs, okay, like in the Wildstorm universe, okay, is military fiction. Black Ops, military, superhero, science fiction. That's the definition of Wildstorm Productions. All of that is abandoned when we get our Superman analog. even in this story, we don't know why Majestic is there. He does nothing. He gets introduced and does nothing. Savant, pretty like I guess she kind of comes in as like the fix of the plot. Soldier here, like, you know, like these characters introduced in issue 12, the flow of it all, they really break the momentum. Majestic breaks the entire universe. I mean, so much so that Majestic is in the animated series. Majestic should never have been introduced. And we can kind of say this is their biggest problem, character-wise, because a Superman analog doesn't belong in Wildstorm Productions. If there's ever like a retcon, if they ever retell all of this, and it's so funny because they retell it now and they keep featuring Majestic earlier and earlier in the retelling. It's just weird. Majestic needs to go. He needs to be out. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't lead off into his own miniseries. He has his own run, and we'll get into that. The Joe Casey stuff, the Ed McGuinness stuff, it's fantastic. But in no way is it Wildstorm universe. Okay, he gets thrown into DC proper, and he's better in DC proper. But here we go. So we have, who's our editor? This is where we have to call out Sarah Becker. Do you guys know who Sarah Becker is? Sarah Becker is right here. She's a part of Real World. Okay. Real World, I think season 3. And then we have Bill Kaplan. Now, he's not a chaplain, he's a Kaplan. Why does this make me a little bit annoyed? Well, an editor should, like this. Like, an editor looks at the pages on the wall. They print out the pages, right? Production houses at this time spent a lot of money photocopying, printing out pages. And you would get different versions. You would get like the script with the layouts, and then you would get the script with some of the pencils and detailed layouts, and then you eventually start getting the inks and the colors, right? And you get like a stack. You get a stack of Xeroxes and copies, and you kind of walk around and you do this, right? Like you kind of start seeing the issue come to life. So why does this page upset me? So, well, if we get into, I'm trying to look for it right here. See, when we're like introduced, see, we get this in the previous issue. And now we get this as the splash page, page 1 in the next issue. This is where the editor needs to say, guys, you gotta think of something else. Because we cannot just swap the seats, have almost the same angle, and expect that to fly with the reader. Like, we need better standards than this. I know some of you out there that don't understand the role of the editor. You guys might be saying, Pete, you're a little effing, you're a nutbag over here. You are nutty nuts. But this is, if an editor is to do something, it's this. Okay? I'm sorry, find a different mode of transportation. Find something else. Because here's the wild thing, and this is, a lot of people miss this. So, let's just say, right, June, August, right? June 11th, August, right? Issue 11, issue 12. Not June 11th. Issue 11, issue 12. June, August. You buy this in June. You buy the day it drops. You go home, you read it, and let's just say you have like 1 through 10. You kind of have like a little like WildCATs stack. You have a little bit of a WildCATs stack, right? And what do you do between 11 and 12? Well, you go back to 11. You may even go back to 6, right? And you read like the issue as you're engaged into the story. Like, it's with you for a month. So for a month, you're reading and going back and forth on issue 11. So by the time you get to issue 12, issue 11 is almost memorized. This is why when we do these conversations and we do these sit downs and we hit the drawing table, we memorize as much about the books as possible, because we're recreating the idea of living with the books for 1 month before the next one comes out. But we get this amazing, like, look at Harm, Slag, and Attica. So now Harm, I love it, dude. He can become anything. He's like Flubber. Dude, this shot here, I mean, I always say Jim Lee does bad villains, but he is selling the hell out of this. This right here, you see this. You're like, action figures, animated series, t-shirts, toy line, I don't care, give this to me. But they're in hot pursuit of the bullet bike. They're still on Huntsman's tail. For whatever reason, by the way, because they got paid previously, but they're still looking for a Z-Lot. And then we get this. So Voodoo, she's exercising the rickshaw in her consciousness. And this is the stuff I love. I love, like, astral plane. I love, like, the idea of how do we illustrate, like, a psychic war, a psychic battle. And they're slowly adding to Voodoo's capabilities, her understanding. She's us, like, you know, like, we see everything through her eyes, and it's awesome. And then the cops show up, so we get this other dumb blonde-haired girl. Voodoo's beat up, she's still decrepit looking. The boys show up, Slag, Harm, and Attica, and, you know, like, they're doing their slow stalking. We get, like, a nice transition here, right? Establishing shot, medium, close up, different location. We pull away, different coloring, right? We go with the brown here, a little bit of brown on the inside, and we get a little bit more exposition, but Z-Lot is fading. So kind of like with her being wounded, it's also like she's partly becoming possessed by the rickshaw. She's infected, she's transforming. Tapestry here starts merging our girls, Providence and Lady Void. And then we get the whack attack here, because this is the only cue of Huntsman. Like, this is like kind of like the only thing he does. And we get I think it's, what's it, Cyber Force issue 10. This is so stupid. Where is it? Is it not here? Maybe 11. Maybe 11. Yes, it's 11. Because I always forget he's in 11. So he does his whack twice. Like, literally, like, this is the hook of Huntsman. And at this point, we still don't know anything about him. Soldier shows up. So we see, like, Huntsman, he takes down Harm because of magic or whatever. Like, he does everything perfect. He really is like a Mary Sue, okay? But Soldier shows up and he shoves the shotgun in Attica's face, and then we kind of get this exchange where they try all the gimmicks against the rock, the lava, the mud of Slag, and they try hitting with water. They try, you know, like, they kind of, she lets go of some of these, like, marbles, like, literally marbles. Guys, Chris Claremont wrote the story. This is readable because of Jim Lee and his ability to lay out something. But so he falls, like, through, like, he falls down, and he's kind of like this way, and he's holding onto the girl, and he's like, show yourself, Z-Lot, you help me or I burn her. So they go back and forth, and essentially Z-Lot, like, cranks up her power. So we see this, like, hidden power in Z-Lot. We have Soldier still going back to back with Harm. We actually get to see, like, the inside of Harm's, like, body, which is kind of weird because he transforms Like, right, he literally just transformed into a sky skiff, Flash Gordon style, right? Like Flash Gordon style. But then Mr. Majestic and Savant show up. Now, at this point, when Majestic shows up, you're thinking, and this is what I was thinking when I was reading this, like, we're getting our Zack Snyder Superman showing up to fight Apocalypse and Darkseid, and you know, like when Superman shows up in the Justice League movie to fight Steppenwolf, right? Like, it's Superman is here, you guys are in trouble. But we get none of that. He just shows up, does a wonderful Jim Lee hand, some nice Kirby crackle. Grifter pops in out of nowhere. So we get Mr. Majestic, Savant showing up doing nothing, and then we get Grifter showing up, and now we have, and then we end up with Tapestry, yeah, because she sees everything, and Tapestry's just like she's like, holy crap, issue 13 is going to be packed, like it's going to be a full issue. So we get to 13, and look, guys, Huntsman's on the Image Eye. Like, if you bought this issue 2 from the stands, and you're like, man, like, let me just read it. And you like, you're in the comic shop, and you see this, and you're like, yeah, like you're thinking Huntsman is being built up. But he's not. He's not. So we get this fight. We get some nice Jim Lee action here. So here we see Grifter. Grifter just starts like blasting everyone. He's blasting Mullen in the face. He's blasting Warblade in the stomach. Yeah, he's doing his Grifter stuff, looking as cooler than a cucumber. But then we get some of this exposition here, and Grifter is using pellets. He's pelleting. He's got pellets. There's not even live rounds, so whatever. But this is why we have captions. We can explain things. And who knows, this page could have been done weeks in advance, right? And you're on the deadline, and you got to roll it out, right? But we have captions. Majestic, you know. So we get this. So this is, like, this girl's in armor, okay? Right? The girl in armor that Savant's down. Inside of Savant's bag, she has like a magic crystal. But we go back to issue 10. This armored girl is the one that we saw that was like fake sleeping. It's this girl, right? Like right here, see? But then she has longer hair. And then we have this like thing where when she touched like Tapestry, she got armor. But again, panels and captions, it is explained. It's a clear production error. Like, it's... Where's our... Oh, here we go, guys. Sarah Becker. Real World Season 3, question mark. And Bill Kaplan. Like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, you have 2 editors. 2! And you can't, like, you don't catch this stuff. See? Like, she's kind of like, huh? And then, huh? But Maul gets whacked by Mr. Majestic because they're possessed. So everyone's possessed, just like we saw in Killer Instinct. Tapestry is acting the same as Misery. And then, look, she has a throne. And we see, it's like Void and Providence. It's so freaking cool. And then, you know, we get some like action shots by Soldier here, because like whatever. And then we get Zealot here shows up in full power. Psychic realm combat. We get the evil assistant boy with the awesome mustache. He zaps the girl from the beginning. Huntsman has a little bit of a moment with Spartan here. Huntsman shows up. Let's just fast forward. Huntsman basically jumps and spears Tapestry, and everything explodes. Comic books, let's go. I'm fine with that, because people part their ways. Tapestry and the dude part their ways because they have the crystal that was confiscated from Savant earlier. They run off. And we kind of just get this moment where Voodoo's able... So we do come full circle. Voodoo is able to calm and release some of the constraints. Like, she's able to heal Zealot based on her powers, okay? So we do come full circle where, like, we kind of have this, like, you know, like the student becomes the teacher moment. So very satisfactory. We wrap this up in a nice way. We don't have a direction for the book, and we're at the end. And it's just, and we're still kind of like, you know, look, Huntsman kisses. So now in the course of like a couple of issues, Zealot made out with Grifter. Like, we can't forget that, right? Because this bitch. Like, look at this. What is she doing? Issue 8, she's kissing Grifter. Issue 13, she's kissing Huntsman. What? But yeah, and then we get like the passing of the blade, and then we're done. The Jim Lee era of WildCATs is done. And we jam-packed it with, again, an Alabaster Woo plot thread that basically goes nowhere. Introduction of 3 new characters that are unnecessary. We have Mr. Majestic, our Superman analog. He does one thing. He punches Maul. But it's like we still get this idea that there's a next adventure. Like, there's something else for these guys to do. And you do want to say, like, you would be on board with this. What also has to be said, we go into Image X month. So Jim Lee kind of just like, he does his sign-off here. Strangely enough, while this is my last issue of WildCATs, my final story of this year will be published next month in issue 13 of Savage Dragon. It sports a fast-paced brain and show story and exquisite finishes by Richard Bennett. This is all part of the Image X month, where the most interesting issues of each of 6 founders' titles. So like he leaves. Okay, he really never comes back to WildCATs. And along the way, we kind of have to go into, look, Ryan Benjamin, Brett Booth, Travis Cheris, pencil assists. We can go into each of these issues and see Wildstorm Productions come into fruition. I don't know who we have here. Maybe we have less here, less credited. Like, who do we have for issue 10? Issue 10. Ink assist, separations, pencils. Like, we know, we can tell just by some of the, what's inside the panel. Like, some of the details. Like, Jim Lee is already in, like, full Wildstorm Productions supporting the look and feel of Jim Lee, and Jim Lee becoming a standard of Wildstorm Productions, and through that, he's becoming a standard through the look and feel of American comics. And you want to say, like, where Wildstorm Productions was built off of the back of X-Men issue 1. And you really want to say through that, he was able to acquire all of this. Like, all of this came through X-Men number 1. This would have been a Marvel comic book studio. These guys would have been working on Marvel Comics. So Marvel sees this, and they have to say, like, I really do like this suit. This shot where Savant throws Grifter some of his weapons. It's like coming this way, and then he catches them. It shouldn't work, but it does. And Grifter's all in on fighting Warblade, by the way. He's not, he's like all in on fighting Warblade. But no, and Jim Lee really at this point doesn't return until he gets into Divine Right, what she stumbles through, and then there's Batman Hush. And he never really comes back to comics. He never really comes back to fully illustrating issues until the earlier, like, somewhat the first 6 or 7 issues of WildCATs. So it's a passing of Jim Lee. This is a definition of how overrated Chris Claremont really is. it's somewhat of a definition of bloating your story. Like, look at all the characters that we have in this, and I'm leaving some out. Like a bloated storyline with too many characters. I mean, given, you know, we can take away entropy here. So it's a little bit sad. And now, like, for Wildstorm Wednesday moving forward, we're questioned. We're legitimately questioned of what the next move for Wildstorm Wednesday is. We've already done WildCATs 14. If you're reading WildCATs 13 and you go into 14 with Eric Larson mess, you're disappointed. So then what happens with WildCATs 15? So, and from here, everyone is waiting for the Alan Moore era to emerge, but they're off-world in Alan Moore. So the Wildstorm universe, it stumbles. It stumbles, and I have to say, because of no Jim Lee, bloating out some of our books, and letting Chris Claremont not do anything. Like, really.